Greetings, faithful citizens. Welcomes to the We Are J6 weekly live stream. Thank you guys, as always, for joining us and participating in this. I just want to make sure from my fellow panelists that we have clean visual and audio. Everyone can see and hear. Is that right? Amazing.
Looks good.
Awesome. And a couple of housekeeping notes quickly at the top. I am traveling and in an airport. I believe Dr. Gold is also traveling in a noisy environment. So forgive the noise and the glitches. Hopefully this goes as planned. And so I'm going to just kick us off as we have always done, acknowledging the presence of God, inviting his blessing, his protection, and just reminding all of us that we are one nation under God, and that really is the key to everything. So that's how we're going to start. Heavenly Father, we come to you in humility and also in joy. There's a tremendous amount of joy in this period right now in our nation's history, and of course in the lives of each one of us and the members of this community, this group. So there's tremendous joy, but there's still tremendous suffering as well. So we want to acknowledge that. And God, we just want to invite you into our presence in this group, in this meeting, that you would shower us with protection, with grace, with wisdom, with the wisdom that only comes from the Holy Spirit. God, I really ask that everything that I say would be Holy Spirit filled, and that all of these panelists would just be acknowledging and connecting to you and seeking your guidance and wisdom as we consider what to think, what to say, and then how to act. So we just praise you, God, and thank you for the goodness that you bring and that you are, and the fact that none of this is possible without you. And we just invite you into our midst and pray for success in our efforts. In the Heavenly Father's name we pray. Amen.
In Jesus' name.
Amazing. Awesome. So we've done this for a couple of months now, and it's very interesting. There's a lot going on every day. There's a lot going on in the J6 community every day. I think it was actually just last week that somebody on our panel mentioned that we've been marked by January 6th for life, permanently. In some ways, there's a negative aspect to that, which is part of our conversation. But in some ways, I think it was Will last week that mentioned there's a positive aspect to the fact that we've been marked in a permanent way, that we're changed forever, and we're somewhat of a unique group with certainly unique experiences, and I think a certain kind of spirit and commitment to the founding principles, to patriotism, and to the new golden age and turning point moment that's happening in our nation's history right now. So I think those are good things, but there has been a lot of there's been a lot of interesting events and conversation and different things happening in the world, and specifically in the J6 community. So we do want to discuss that today. Also, I just want to remind everybody at the top, generally speaking, what the purpose of this group is, what our identity is, what our ethos is. We are all different individual citizens, and as Dr. Gold loves to say, the most persecuted minority is the individual. So we always remember that. We're cognizant of that, and we want to honor and protect individuals and individuality and sovereignty. And then, of course, at the same time, we're one nation under God. So there's a really important aspect of unity that our country needs, and that certainly our J6 community needs. And we want to speak to that as well. As we've mentioned from the start, this group is about delivering restorative justice. So we'll continue to discuss what that entails and various ideas and strategies to try to actually be successful in achieving those things, because we're not interested in just talking. We're interested in doing and succeeding. And so strategy is very critical to that. Wisdom is critical to that. And in the council of many, there's victory, as the Bible says. So real quickly, I would love to have Dr. Gold give us a summary from the legal perspective. She's the attorney in the We Are J6 group, of the steering committee. She's the attorney. We are working with many different people, including attorneys, on various ideas and projects. But for the We Are J6 community, she has been a steadfast legal voice. She can give us kind of an update on where we sit right now as a group, and et cetera.
Thank you so much, and thank you, and welcome to everybody who's here. I don't have anything big and bold to discuss, just letting people know that I continue to have conversations with different attorneys about the best legal strategy forward. It is not yet clear what is the best legal strategy forward, if that will be as individuals or as a group. Um, I do want to say that whatever people end up deciding, myself or the group, it will be, our success will be influenced by how the public perceives us, which is one of the reasons we continue to do these meetings. We want to be in solidarity with each other. We want to, I guess, remind each other that how the public perceives us is going to be critical, honestly, in legal negotiations. At the end of the day, at some point, somebody is going to sit down with somebody to negotiate something. And that will be in the backdrop of that negotiation will be what people perceive about the other side. One of the reasons Trump is able to be effective now, he really ridiculed some of the governors yesterday, is because he knows he has the wind at his back, and he knows that he can speak like that because of the way he won the election. So we're going to be eventually collectively all in that same position. So I just want to remind everybody that how we appear in public and the way we push ourselves forward is going to influence the eventual legal settlement. But as a specific matter, there is nothing specific new to report on legal, other than I keep talking to different attorneys, and at some point we'll have to pick a legal strategy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gold. Yeah, as she mentioned, one of the impetuses of this group at the beginning was to discuss and navigate the pursuit of restorative justice, and specifically, of course, victim recovery, which certainly would include financial repair of those harmed through this, which is, of course, incredibly extensive. And I don't want to assume that everyone knows that. Most participating in our group and watching these live streams are somewhat aware and beginning to gain a better understanding. But one of the purposes of this group is to really dive into the truth and the full extent of what has happened, so that the public can be informed and educated and understand. But in seeking financial victim recovery, of course, we understand there are legal realities to navigate. And so we started this group to discuss those, and like we said, involve wisdom and strategy. But in addition to the legal considerations, there are equally important considerations related to our our identity, our conduct, and simply how we proceed, how we present ourselves, and how we conduct ourselves, particularly as we attempt organization and coordination of efforts. So we're going to continue to speak to those things. We're very grateful to have Trennis Evans join us today, the founder of Condemned USA, who has done a tremendous amount of work in various different capacities, but a tremendous amount of work over the last 4 years, I believe. Trennis will speak to this, related to grassroots organization and victim advocacy, related to specific legal actions and etc. But really being one of many upstanding members of the J6 community who has understood the greater context of what was involved in terms of the day itself on January 6th, what was involved in terms of the context related to the entire political calculation, what happened before, during, and after, and kind of where our country is and where our J6 community is within those battles as we've progressed over these last 4 years. So we, just for another housekeeping note to you all, we do have a hard stop at 1 p.m. And one thing that I will make sure we get to is a demo, a preview of what we're calling persecution testimonials. And these will be short video vignettes of actual J6 former defendants, potentially now J6 plaintiffs, but J6 patriots who have gone through hell and have a very important story to tell. There are roughly 1,500 plus of these folks, and we urge every single one of them to join this movement in terms of helping to share your particular story and helping the community at large to properly and accurately and effectively share the stories, demonstrate the truth, and educate the public and our nation related to what happened and what needs to happen. So with that, Trennis, I just want to thank you for joining us today and invite you to share what your perspective is as far as where we currently sit related to the image and presentation of J6ers in the community, and potential specific actions related to civil actions, legal considerations, restitution, and many ideas to discuss there, but just kind of what your position is right now.
Yeah. So thank you, John. And thank you, Dr. Gold, for having me today. I appreciate that. And Jared, fantastic to see you. I met this gentleman, unfortunately, in his trial when I was in DC. So the heart of activism has long since grown in the January 6th community. We have seen fantastic efforts. John, I met you and Dr. Gold, Clay Clark's events, General Flynn,
Yep.
Long ago. And, there's been many theories and ideas presented to the January 6th community. And I think many times, and I think you're both aware that I myself even grasped at any straw desperately, as we all did, I think. And, Dr. Gold, you reeled me back into some foundation at that time, and I appreciate that. So what we've experienced as a community has been nothing short of something that should have never happened. And it's been nothing short of an absolute abomination and a weaponization of the legal system. They're terms that have almost become nullified by their overuse or the absolute proper use of it as it stands today. I'm having worked with hundreds of defendants and had communications with them and their families, and still working with several that are still in jail. It's been a big job, and it's been something that has touched my heart. It's touched my life. It's had a great effect on not only me, but my family, as it has probably every single defendant. I think moving forward, I think what you mentioned, John, you and I spoke earlier today, and I think as we're perceived by the community, what Dr. Gold spoke to recently, as the community perception of us evolves, right? And now that the people have seen their freedom, there is a lot of emotion running out there. There are people that are hurt. There's people like yourself, John, spent years in prison, wrongfully persecuted, accused, and convicted in a court that had no interest in justice, had nothing more than the idea of conviction and a degradation of individuals because of a political ideology, supporting a president that is now president, that is now seen. We were made to believe that we should live in shame for supporting this individual. And yet here we have seen that more than half the country is in absolute support. That's the voting populace, much less the actual support that goes along with that. But here we are today. And I think it's a beautiful time. And I hope that it's not overshadowed by emotions that may run high. And we all have to work collectively as a community to recognize that as we are working toward whatever the efforts are, whether they're worked individually, whether they're worked collectively, whether they're worked through this organization or another, whatever that effort is, the public perception, we always said the court of public opinion is so important to January 6th when we were fighting the criminal battle. How much more important it is now, the court of the public opinion, as it relates to where we go from here. So I urge all January 6th defendants. I'm not interested in what's happened to date. I want to look at this moment forward and urge January 6th defendants to say, I would make a commitment that I not do anything to overshadow or undermine positive efforts that are taking place by people like John Strand, Dr. Gold, and many others. There's so many others, right? And without recognizing every person that's involved, I just want to be a part of saying, I commit today to making every effort. No matter what I've done in the past, no matter what I did yesterday or the moment before this, it's like making a covenant, if you will, that I commit today that my actions, the things that I do, how I'm publicly perceived, I will make it my mission to do my best to not alter the path or the fate of what may happen for January 6th defendants and efforts as they are now potential plaintiffs. And even if it's not plaintiffs, we have a place in history. And we have to honor that place in history, be it good, be it bad. There are plenty that want to see us falter, and there will be many temptations, those that will attempt to drag us into situations like what happened in some events in the past. There are people that want to see us falter, the people that want to see us fail. There are people that want to see us bludgeoned, and we have to make sure that doesn't happen. Our actions are so important. So we have to have our head on a swivel. We have to be keenly aware and absolutely alert to anything that could be utilized against us, and have high ground in that. We have high ground now. Let's keep it. And I urge that of the January 6th community from this moment forward.
That was extremely well spoken, Trennis, as usual. Thank you so much for reminding us of that. That's exactly what I was hoping we would be able to discuss today, and to really inspire people in that direction. Dr. Gold, do you have any comments to just reiterate those points?
No, I mean, I really appreciate them. I just, the thing that's uppermost in my mind is that we have to be well perceived by the public. There just won't be anything more important at the negotiating table. It's going to determine, it will determine the outcome. And I liked what you said, Trennis. No one person's activities should overshadow. Like, you don't be selfish about it. It's not about me. It's not about John. It's not about Trennis or Jared. It's about all of us. So just be cautious in we all have a lot of anger in our heart for what happened to us, but just be cautious in your public approach. Cognizant there's 1,500 people's results will be influenced by your behavior.
It's true. Thank you, Dr. Gold. It's very important, but that's an inescapable fact. So I want to say this group, this live stream, this effort that we have called We Are J6, we called it that for a very specific reason. We're speaking to that singular central identity and ethos that while we are all individuals and we respect and protect that, we are associated and united by certain things. And in this context, there's an inescapable collective effect that the public will perceive J6 and J6ers a certain way. And that's something that we all are affected by and have to live with. So in terms of understanding this group, We Are J6, who we are, what we're trying to do. What we are not trying to do is co-opt or control any one of you related to your individual rights and freedoms and your individual plans for proceeding with your life related to anything, and particularly related to restitution and other elements of restorative justice and etc. But what we are interested in doing is cooperating and collaborating in a manner that helps the entire community to be as successful as possible. We truly believe there is immense potential for success in that regard. We also believe that this attitude and approach that Trennis and Dr. Gold have spoken to is absolutely paramount. It's essential. So we are looking to invite all the J6ers. We want all of them and their families and their supporters, which we call advocates, which hopefully is the entire country, or the portion of which is clear thinking and committed to common sense. This is a simple, middle of the road common sense kind of group, and that's our foundational value. Forgive my background noise here at the airport. This is very much a nonpartisan mission. This is a nonpartisan group. Political persecution is not partisan. It will attack every faction. And so that's where we're coming from. But we really want to urge everyone watching, hearing this, please understand that the nature of this group, the nature of our mission is one of unification and solidarity. So it's actually critical that we invite and involve and include as many J6ers and also advocates as possible. That doesn't mean there's no exclusivity to this group. There's no mutually exclusive conditions or situations such that if you consider yourself part of the We Are J6 community, that therefore you're not allowed to participate or not going to talk about or support other people and other efforts. It has nothing to do with that. We simply understand that there is an inescapable and important need to develop a proper identity and ethos and a proper approach with a a high standard of our conduct as a J6 community so that everyone can be successful, as we've mentioned. So as far as it relates to that, our call to action today is that you continue to invite others to this group. wearej6.com. Super easy. Everyone that has not yet read, and we have hundreds of people that have registered, but we want thousands. We want all 1,500 plus former defendants, and we want to see a groundswell of support from the community, the general public at large, as advocates, registering, sharing, and supporting this movement. Because it's about restorative justice in that comprehensive sense. We'll continue to discuss what that means. We'll continue to invite numerous other folks to share stories and perspectives on what it means and how to accomplish this. But we need to really grow and develop the solidarity of the We Are J6 movement to be as successful as possible. So we urge you to help us with those efforts. And that's also what the video that we're going to show shortly is about. Trennis, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Just look, I think, having a greater understanding of what you were doing, we talked early on as you were founding this and you guys were pulling this together. I want to be clear. So I didn't understand, and I had a greater understanding later, and I'm thankful for what you're doing, and I'm excited to be a part of this. It doesn't mean, and I think people maybe they had shared the misunderstanding. This isn't a group that you have to only be a part of this. You're welcome to be a part of any other J6 group, whether it be my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. If you want to be a part of a text group or a church group or an affiliated group that's affiliated with this person or this group or that group, you're not limited. Doesn't mean you can't be here. I think everyone is welcome here, regardless of other affiliations or alliances, if you might. That one of the key aspects that I think that I understood as a takeaway, and much like how I believe it, that I don't want to ostracize anyone, and this group isn't ostracizing anyone. You've welcomed every January 6th defendant, person, interested party to be a part here, to be aligned or join and just receive a message or share a message. That it's a community of people that are able to come together, share in the mission, work, roll up their sleeves, or just take part in listening, or maybe have an idea, and that you're not limiting people. It's like, oh, well, you now have to disavow this group. There's none of that. It's just all about a community effort. And I think that's beautiful that there's many organizations in the January 6th community that have formed over the last 4 years. And I think we all welcome one another. Like my organization welcomes the interest with yours, and I'm excited to be here and be a part. So I think me being here is just a small part of J6. I come here as an individual, but I also come here in representation of my organization. I don't come here to ask people join me or be a part of this. I'm here joining in the mission of We Are J6 because I believe in what Dr. Gold and what John Strand are doing and the efforts that are taking place. I believe in the collective effort of unity. I believe that the more we work together and intertwine, as long as it stays positive, and I think that's the key effort, mission today, and our conduct has a code of conduct, if you will, this ethos that you mentioned, John, that I think beautifully we can continue to navigate in and out of circles together, bring together ideas, and the community will benefit from that. So that's, I think, it just clarity for me. I just want to be sure. So I welcome anyone that's a part of Condemned USA or any other group to join, as I have here with the collective effort of We Are J6, because I embrace that. I embrace the unity and I embrace the collectivism, but I respect, like you do, the individualism. I respect the other groups and what the hard work they've put in. And I think that nobody should misunderstand that everyone's welcome. It's a collective effort, and you can hold this identity individually or remain with the group you're with. But this is something that's just different. It's the community, and you have missions and you have efforts, and they have yet to fully evolve. I think there's an evolution going on, and I'm happy to see. And thank you again for inviting me to be a part of that.
Yeah, well, no, thank you, Trennis, and well said. We do see this as an umbrella kind of group and an umbrella kind of mission from that perspective. And like you said, it is evolving. There's a lot more to be done. Dr. Gold, I just want to make sure I wasn't, if you had something that's pitched there, go ahead.
I just want to say that I guess we serve three functions. One is I will report back on any legal information I get that's specific and helpful to the group. I'm still in a learning curve myself with different attorneys, and I haven't made up my mind up myself or any decision, but I want to give the benefit of my conversations to all J6ers, quite frankly. That's one. Number two, it's that there's a place where people can not feel alone, they can feel heard, we text each other, etc. But most importantly, honestly, is going to be the video testimonials, so that there's a video story that we can put out to the American people. If this really becomes robust, if we have 100 or 500 of these stories, media will want to talk to people, media will want to play this. It will change the narrative, and that will help everybody, legally and non-legally. It's just so important. So I look forward, John, to you telling people how they can do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to thank Jared Wise for also joining today. He's been an excellent help and a warrior in this mission overall, and specifically the last few weeks with We Are J6. Jared is a former FBI agent, so he's got a very unique and valuable perspective there. Obviously, we are overjoyed today celebrating the confirmation of Kash Patel. That I think bodes extremely well, both for the J6 community and for the FBI. So Jared, thank you for being here, and please welcome yourself and give us kind of your summary of where things are at this week.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I apologize. I'm at a coffee shop, so I'm having Wi-Fi connections, as you probably can tell, and there may be background noise as well. I think that the biggest thing that struck me this week is how important, and this goes with the theme that you've mentioned, how important the stories are, the individual stories. From CPAC, I saw probably, 5, 10 different stories that I hadn't seen before. And they're impactful, right? Even for someone that's been through it, has my own story, to see exactly how people are affected in like a myriad of different ways was very important. So I think that's, at this point, I'm sure everyone feels like I do. You go through ups and downs, and you leave one phase. The persecution phase is over. The fear of trials in jail and all that kind of stuff is over, but now it's a whole new thing, and it changes every day. But I just concur 100% that it's so important to get these stories out. People that I knew their story, I heard new details, and it hits you in a way that you didn't expect. So I think that's extremely important. And I'm going to begin to dig into things that I noticed from my discovery based on my time as an FBI agent, to understand a little bit, that I want to put out. Hopefully it'll help people as these lawsuits develop. Maybe those can also be helpful. I'm happy to be a resource for anybody that has questions about the FBI. I've been out for a while, but still have a pretty good insight into how things work, and maybe can help interpret documents or codes or things you may have seen in Discovery. But I mentioned this, I think, 2 weeks ago, but I also just encourage everyone, while it's fresh, try to obtain whatever you can from your Discovery and transcripts, things like that. Those are so important now, because it'll get harder with time. But that's where I'm at now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Yeah, that's a very important consideration. We've been talking the last few weeks about developing a table of harms, a way to catalog, describe, and evaluate, or give a valuation to various numerous elements of what we've all suffered. Dr. Gold, we are still kind of developing that table of harms in an input form for the community at large to submit all of those details. But certainly right now, you can be kind of collecting your materials, collecting things to be reminded, and documenting what had happened to you in various ways. And we will want to utilize some of that information in terms of helping to describe various people's stories and give succinct summaries of the things that people went through. Jared, you were correct. It is so important to share these stories in addition to the video testimonials, and we're going to play this here momentarily for you. I'm really excited to show this to you guys. But in addition to those, we also want to develop visual representations so people can see these people's faces, our faces. We are all people with names, faces, stories, families. The American public needs to see and understand who we are. We are J6. Who is that? What is that? We're going to share that and explain that with you and your stories. We invite you to participate in that. Someone mentioned in the chat here how many people are part of this community. I don't know the exact number, several hundred or so, but we hope to reach, like I said, 1,500 defendants and countless general public advocates to help us in this mission. Sharing the story is critical. The videos will be a part of that, and also your details and summaries will be a part of that too. So stay tuned for more information on that. You should have received an email, if not several emails by this point, if you have previously registered, inviting you to submit persecution testimonial video submissions. If you have not, please make sure to just re-register at the website, wearej6.com. There's a defendant and a general public advocate option there. So choose appropriately. But we will continue to send out those emails to remind and invite people to submit the materials. Did anyone have any other questions or comments before I play this this demo video? No, we're good.
Play away. It sounds good. Let's go. I'm like, you got me excited.
Right.
I want to see.
I think you're going to be excited. So here is our, and of course, this is still a work in progress. As you watch this, just kind of think through how this relates to who you are and what your story is, and how you can best kind of capture your story and explain it to people in a way that makes sense and that's impactful in an organized fashion. But we have instructions that help along that. And then, of course, we're always looking for feedback to see how we can improve. So here you go.
We're simple people. We were nonviolent. Having our home raided by FBI, pointing AR-15s at my daughter early in the morning, 6 hours in solitary confinement. This is an event that will forever change us. Hello, my name is Scott Christensen, and I'm from Puyallup, Washington. On December 6, 2021, my wife and I took a vacation to Washington, D.C., which was a Christmas gift to my wife. We went to enjoy the Stop the Steal rally in the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. to hear President Donald Trump give a speech. After President Trump gave his speech, my wife and I peacefully joined others on the east side of the Capitol building, in which we joined in the singing of the national anthem, chanting USA, and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. As the crowd grew bigger and bigger, we were forced to have to go into the Capitol building. There was no way out. We squeezed through the East Memorial doors and entered, nonviolent, non-destructive, non-abusive. We were just there to take part. On December 7th, 2022, our home was raided by 20 plus FBI and U.S. Marshals. We were brought up on 4 charges. We were coerced to have to plead guilty to picketing, parading, and demonstrating inside of a Capitol building, in which we felt like we did none of the above. In the process of everything, they placed us on a terror watch list. We were then sentenced with 30 days home confinement, 60 hours of community service, 36 months of probation, and $1,020 of restitution to damages that were done to the Capitol, of which we did not commit. We were nonviolent. We served our punishment fully. Along with everything else, the court of public opinion was the most devastating. Local, national, and social media targeted us, calling us insurrectionists, calling us terrorists, and becoming an enemy of the state and an enemy of the people. We are not those people. We're simple people. Having our home raided by FBI, U.S. Marshals, pointing AR-15s at my daughter early in the morning, dragging us out of the house and publicly arresting us in front of our community, putting us in handcuffs and leg shackles, dragging us for us to have to sit for 6 hours in solitary confinement in the local courthouse. This is an event that will forever change us. The psychological, physical, emotional toll that is taken not just on we, but our family as well. Our daughter still has nightmares of what happened that day when we were arrested. No good American person should ever go through this over a misdemeanor, a petty misdemeanor. It's the first time in FBI history that they have ever pursued Americans over walking through a Capitol taking pictures. And yet we were treated as if we were drug cartel, human traffickers. Our punishment will last all of our days. We will always wear this scarlet letter from what we experienced, the treatment that we got. The weaponized Department of Justice, from Merrick Garland to Matthew Graves, must be held accountable. Financially, as well as demoting, never again allowing these tyrants to have the power that they have to focus and target good American citizens who simply was there to let our voices be heard peacefully and patriotically. Our lives have been changed forever. We will always have the thought in the back of our mind that whatever goes bump in the night, is it them again? Is it these stormtroopers? Did we mistakenly do something wrong that we didn't know is breaking the law? This type of weaponized government can and will go after its political opponents if we, the people, give them the power. There must be accountability so that this never happens again to a law-abiding citizen of the United States. We own the mistakes we made. But again, it can never happen with a severity like this. I'm Scott Christensen, and I'm a January 6th defendant. I'm one of thousands of people whose lives have been destroyed by a weaponized government from the Department of Justice and the FBI. We are your American brothers and sisters, and we are hurting. We are J6. Please help us deliver restorative justice.
John, may I?
Please. Wow.
Um,
And cheers.
so many things go through your head. All of us experience these raids. I remember, what it was like to look at my 13-year-old son at gunpoint on my front porch. I remember watching my wife drug out in her nightgown. And I thought this is the worst thing that could ever happen until I heard other people's stories. And I heard far worse. And my story became a drop in a bucket and a faraway moment personally, to me, individually, to me. It's the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. But you and I and Dr. Gold know the stories like this, and we know them time and time and time and time again. And I think that's the perspective you're trying to give to the American public. We know about the deaths, and we know about the unborn children who died at the hands of flashbang grenades by an overly vigorous and weaponized system. We know about the impropriety that took place from the bench for judges in DC. We know about the improper sentences that were issued. You just heard this man tell you the story of a sentence that was clearly improper. Dr. Gold could speak to that, but you don't have to be an attorney to know that the clear violations of Class B sentencing guidelines, that the upward departure was so egregious that even the DC appellate wouldn't uphold these Class B sentences of these ridiculous ideas that they wanted to use supervised release to circumvent the idea that the maximum sentence for anything for a Class B misdemeanor was 6 months, either jail or probation. Choose. That's the option a judge has. But these people, maligned with the kind of ideology that they utilized, misused and abused and authoritatively, just with pure evil in their heart, used and wielded the law against people and created this upward departure to use supervised release to circumvent the rules and laws that they themselves, many of the judges on those benches, were part of the sentencing commissions that take place regularly, and to make sure that there's equitable usage of our laws to individuals as it applied to individuals. But there was no equity for January 6th defendants. There was only pain. There was only destruction. There was only grinding you into meal and making an example, as you experienced, John, and as you experienced, Dr. Gold, and as our families experienced, and as the raids. Never in history, as the man said, have we had a group of people that were treated this way for political ideology. The last time in this nation that a group of people were treated in such a way, you had people like Dr. Martin Luther King marching our streets to bring attention to the matter. And we haven't treated people like that since.
I just want to jump in. Everybody wants to do something. Everybody wants to talk. Everybody, you know, we know what we've been through. The vast majority of the world does not. Even people who are somewhat educated on the subject have no idea that we endured violent SWAT team raids on our homes, that children were involved. People really don't know. It's actually kind of exciting that you have the opportunity to tell people. We're going to take the burden on us to edit it and make it look good like that. But John Strand worked really hard to provide clear instructions so that you got a result like that. So if you can follow the instructions and then submit that video, honestly, we can change the narrative on this. It's the kind of thing people will talk about. It's the kind of thing people will share. Somebody asked where you can see these. They're going to be posted. That's that's at least probably 75% of the purpose of wearej6.com. It's to give a visual voice to change the narrative amongst the public, and that will help all of us.
If I may, Dr. Gold, it's correct the narrative, bring it back to the truth. We don't want to change it. We just want to correct it. We just want to give the truth to the people. Not to undermine what you said. I have total respect for you. Just
100%. No, it's good.
Yeah.
Speak. I just want to say, Mickey's asked twice. I've seen you, Mickey. Basically, I think we'll send out the directions again about the video because it's so important. That is something everybody can do. And I think, John, you said you maybe even send it out like every week. Like we'll just keep sending it out because if we get 100 of these videos, it's just going to be a game changer.
And John, are people have they committed to anything by sending in their video other than sharing their story? Is that all that's happening? It's just to share your story. This is a place where the stories are shared. There's no commitment to anything other than a place where you can share. You're muted, John. Oh, at any rate, so I guess Dr. Gold and John Strand have something to say. But I would say it is, I misinterpreted. I thought you were committing to sign up to something when I first saw this. So I want to be the first to say that I'm thrilled to know that this is nothing more than an opportunity there's no commitment. You've made it. The only commitment is that you want to share your story. And every January 6th defendant that I've known and spoken to has felt the same. Like they want the world to know what they were put through. They want the world to see what happened to them. Like you heard from Mr. Christensen there, I believe his name was. The horrific atrocities that have taken place in this country have to be known. Not only, like Dr. Golditz mentioned, that we're not trying to change or rewrite history. We're trying to give people the truth. And much like I think many now have started to question many things in our history, the way we read them in the books, is it actually accurate? Have we actually been told the real story? Do we actually know the truth about events in our history just because it was taught to us? And the history books have been written on this. And if you haven't seen, Rand McNally's version of what's come out on January 6th, this has been labeled as an insurrection, armed insurrection, all these things by different books. And that's what is available. And without something like this, without a vessel like what Dr. Gold and John Strand have created here, we may not have the relative story outside of documentaries and many other things that have been done. But I think this is a fantastic offering of a central place to share those moments in histories, the idea, bring your heart to life, tell the story of what's happened to you and your family, and bring it forward here in a place where the American public and the world can know the truth of what really happened to people as it relates to January 6th.
Absolutely. Perfectly said, Trennis. Thank you. That is true. We've mentioned it several times, but there's no exclusivity or commitment per se as far as joining and participating in the We Are J6 movement. Like Trennis did mention earlier, we do urge you to commit to ethical conduct. We absolutely urge you to commit to the legitimate, proper rule of law. I mean, like Kash Patel said, we have one standard. It's the Constitution. We know what that standard is and we stick by it. So the Constitution, of course, does describe and provide for the proper equal protection and adjudication of the rule of law for citizens. So we do, obviously, as we've experienced personally ourselves to such a horrendous degree, understand the corruption of justice and the corruption of the rule of law that has been improperly and unequally affected us. But the answer to that is not to participate in that degradation of the rule of law in retaliation. The answer to that is to recommit to the legitimate rule of law. And so that's the spirit of the conduct and the approach that we insist that we all commit to. So that's a prerequisite. The rule of law, that is a prerequisite constitutional governance, and that is our North Star, and that guides everything that we do as a movement and everything that we encourage you all to do, both related to We Are J6 and of course related to your lives in general. But yes, this is open to all. We do urge everyone to consider sharing their stories. Logistically speaking, please continue to register if you have not already, or do it again at wearej6.com. We will send out additional emails continually to remind you to submit those video materials. We also want to remind you that we have the website, wearej6.com. We also have social media channels, particularly on X and Telegram. So on the X channel, of course, there's a lot of opportunity for growth and exponential impact. So you'll see these stories on X as well as on the website. And as you are going through your life, sharing stories, both related to what happened in the past and what's currently developing, of course, we're all participating in social media conversations, and especially on X. We want to invite you to tag the We Are J6 X account in your content that's relevant to persecution stories and additional facts and truth telling related to J6. So that's at We Are J6 Alliance on Twitter. It is at We Are J6 on Telegram. I believe you can also find this live stream on YouTube at We Are J6. And then, of course, wearej6.com. So we will get additional emails out. Continue to register, continue to share, and urge the entire general public and every J6er that you know to join and to share and to help us really deliver on restorative justice in the very comprehensive sense. I am getting close to a hard stop here, so I just want to invite any closing comments from Dr. Gold, Trennis, or Jared as we kind of close up and look forward to a very exciting upcoming week and progress, and of course, hopefully reuniting with you guys next Saturday. Anyone?
Hey, I just want to say I'm not sure why some people don't get emails. It's not clear to me. In the beginning, we changed like our platform, but if you think you're not getting emails, you should at least be getting an email, I think, on Wednesdays and again on today before the meeting. So if you are not getting those, then definitely re-register at We Are J6. Some people are saying, are we editing? And we're not doing anything on the comments. I think the comments don't allow me to write like a .com address. So anyway, just make sure you registered at wearej6.com. And I will keep people apprised if I have any solid legal news that everybody should know about. And again, the videos are critical. Thank you. And thank you, John, for all the work in the videos.
Of course. And everybody, make sure that you whitelist, which means adding this email address to your contacts so that it doesn't get lost in spam junk filters. But make sure you whitelist the email address info, I-N-F-O, at wearej6.com, spelled out. So info at wearej6.com. That's where those updates will be coming from. Jared or Trennis, any closing comments? And yeah, thanks for being here.
Jared?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I don't have much to add at the end here, but just thank you, John and Dr. Gold, for continuing to develop this. Trennis, for your help. I think you mentioned you were at my trial, and that was a huge encouragement. So I appreciate that very much. But yeah, I just hope to hear more and more stories. I think that's the most important part, and it's obviously the topic of this call. But hearing those stories coming out of CPAC were so impactful to me. And again, like Trennis said, I thought my story was horrible. It's the worst things that ever happened to me as well. But then you hear other stories, and it's even more shocking. So I just appreciate everyone that's had the courage to come out and do that. There's 1,600 of us, and most of those names we don't know and haven't heard those stories. So I just encourage some of us have reacted by speaking out and making sure we're heard, and then others have chosen a different path, which I understand everyone has to handle it their own way. But I hope we hear more of those stories. I encourage everyone that there's people out there that want to hear it. So that's I think the most important thing at this point. But thank you all very much.
I do have a closing comment. I think I've been honored to be able to have an opportunity to speak and be a voice of so many while they were imprisoned, when they didn't have the opportunity to have a platform. I've had, that great honor of being able to share and tell the stories of many others while they were unable to tell them, as have John and Dr. Gold and, a number of other folks in our community. I think this is beautiful to me because it's always been painful to me to know that there were so many people with so many stories that needed to be told. It wasn't just they wanted to tell that. People needed to hear it. I wanted to hear it. And I've been privileged to hear many of these stories, as have both of you, because, as you know, you speak at an event and there's always people that come to you immediately after and say, this happened to me. And how do I get to tell people? And I didn't know what the answer was because everybody can't be in the same place telling the same story, but you have developed, you have delivered that answer through this platform at We Are J6 that enables the person that is yet to be able to have that platform and speak to where the entire American public and the world can hear it. It's now available through what you've done. And so I'm so appreciative of that for so many people, and thankful on behalf of so many people that have this opportunity, that haven't been in the documentaries, that haven't been in the books or what have you, that now have that opportunity created by the We Are J6 movement. So thank you both. And thank you for all that you've done to continue to elevate and enable others to tell their stories. It's very important work.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Trennis and Jared. Those were great summaries. It's just been fantastic participation and input from all of you. Dr. Gold, did you have anything else before I close this up? You're good? Okay, awesome. I just want to say thank you to everybody joining the panel today. And I really want to say thank you to everyone watching and participating. We are J6, all of us. It's really profound. It's just profound. I want to say thank you to Scott Christensen, who submitted those materials. What a powerful kickoff to that series. Looking forward to a lot more coming there. Please continue to tell everyone you know about this movement and about this mission. We are committed to delivering restorative justice through victim recovery and government accountability. It's time for national healing. It's really critical, and we believe that God is uniting us and providing a pathway to make that a reality in our nation right now. So thanks again. We encourage everyone one more time, please visit wearej6.com, register, share, participate in the social media interactions, tag us, let us know how we can help share your stories in other ways. And of course, we'll see you next week for the live stream. And thank you, and God bless you all very much.